Hello and welcome to Platypus Scotsman. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Anyway, we're going to do some sidewalks today. I want some sidewalks for my cyberpunk board. I want them to be modular and be able to mass produce them. And that's the idea behind this. And so when I do one cast, I want to be able to have kind of a complete set. That's the goal in this tutorial. Also too, if you want to see pictures of the final product and other things that we've done, go to our Instagram page. It's Platypus Scotsman, and you'll be able to see our pictures there and our work there, and that's where we post everything. So if you want to see this, if you want to see more of them, go there. Anyway, let's go. I've used this technique before. I'm just going to create some blanks. At least that's what I call them anyway. Just so I can just have something to work with. They don't have to be perfect. All these are a little bit bigger than what I want. And you don't necessarily have to do that, but I want to be able to have some fudge room to work with. So this is 1 1/8 inch by 1 1/8 inch. And these are 2 1/8 inch by 1 1/8 inch and 3 1/8 inch by 1 1/8 inch and 4 1/8 inch. So I want different pieces. I want 2 corner pieces. I want an inch piece. I want a 2 inch piece. I want a 3 inch piece. I want a 4 inch piece. You can use a ruler, but I've cut stuff for so long that I don't know. I don't use rulers hardly much anymore. Especially when I have forgiveness with this anyway. It's not that big of a deal if they're a little bit off. Now this is just regular foam core. My bottom piece is it's gonna be foam core that's coated in plastic. And I just happened to get that from my friend Clayton. So this might be a little bit harder to come by, but that way the bottom piece that's gonna be in here won't necessarily stick to the plastic. If you don't have plastic, just put down cellophane. All right, this is plaster, pottery plaster, plaster Paris, whatever. And I'm gonna mix some water in it. And I don't follow instructions. You can. I just get mine to the consistency I like. Usually, how it rolls is I always usually put more water in than I want. You think I'd learn by now, but no. All right, I got it to the consistency I want now, so I'm just gonna do some pours. And I'm flinging this crap everywhere. All right, I have a lot left over, so I have some Hearthstars mold. I'm just gonna pour some in there. I'm just going to take the back of a stick pin now and go around the edge. And I don't want to use something really big because then it just pushes all the plaster out of it. And I'm just doing this to make sure, get all the air bubbles out around the edge, and then I'll go around the middle. But most of the time, if you just go around the edge, it's fine. Especially when doing a project like this. If I was doing casts, I'd be more concerned about air bubbles. Even then, sometimes I don't really care. I just want to make sure that I have all the straight edges that I want. Try not to stab yourself as you're doing this. Ow. There we go, and I'll let that dry and then pop them out. All right, I forgot to weigh down the side so it didn't warp a little bit, but it warped a little bit. So I'm just going to, It warped a little bit, so I'm gonna have to sand it out. Just a little bit more work for me now. But it is what it is. Ow! Don't do that. This makes good debris if you want to break it up and use it as rubble. I also meant to tack this down too, but I got in a rush because we were going to go somewhere and get something, so error on my part. All right, the sidewalk pieces are all nice and dry. They're a little bit bigger than 1 inch, so I want to get them down to 1 inch. I did that on purpose just for the edges. So I'm just going to sand. So if I can just get it close, that's fine. And then I'll just lightly sand the top real quick. So the first thing I want to do is I want to get one that's square, and then I'll go from there. Okay, that's pretty close. I'm not going to quite saw it down to 1 inch. It'll be just a little bit off on purpose. And that's why, because it's going to break at the very end, and that way I can just sand it down. And like I said, I don't care if these are perfect. I just want them really close. That way when I put them on the board and line them up, they'll be close. So that was really close. Now I just want to get this last end piece to where it's 2 inches. That one broke a lot sooner. All right, sidewalk piece number 1. And I'll do the rest. Now they're all sanded, cut to size, and it's a messy thing, but just one of the ways I like to do it. And I'm sure there's other ways to do it, but that's not mine. Anyway, what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna carefully etch some lines in them every 1 inch. I wanna be very careful that I don't have my blade hop out of the line and get a double line. I don't want to go too deep. I just want to have it deep enough to have a line in there and call that good. These little air bubbles, now the only reason I don't like them, but the only reason I didn't do it on this side is that I hop that out and that's a line right there and I don't like it. Oh wait, you know what, I could actually smooth that side. Let me see if there's any air bubbles on this side. Nope, I can round that edge right there and be fine. So I'm gonna do it on this side. I want to try to get the side that doesn't have the air bubbles. And since it's a sidewalk, I just want to have one side rounded a little bit. So I need about a 5 by 6 inch footprint for the mold. This is a foam core, but it's unique foam core because the outer edge this is all plastic. So it's it's plastic base, which tears up your blades really quick, but it makes it good for molding because it doesn't really stick to it. It's not paper based. My friend Clayton is able to get this stuff for me, so makes it nice. He has scraps. So what I've already done is I've already laid out the footprint that I want. So I'm going to cut these edge pieces out. And then I'm going to score the back side of these, actually, just so I can snap them. I don't want to go all the way through. I just want to pop this side. That way I can just snap it, make a mold on this side, and be good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these out, and then we'll get to that point. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to tape these together right here, and just to seal it up. I'm trying to remember how to do this. I used to do this so much that I had a pretty good method. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tape one side, roll that in, kind of line it up. Oops. And seal it. You can also do this with Legos too. I've done it with Legos in the past, where you just make a barrier and then put the tape around the edges. But anyway, kind of get the idea. Now this is all in place, I'm going to glue these down. This is matte Mod Podge. Now I'm just going to seal these pieces of Sidewalk. And I also want to make sure I get the corners down here too, just to seal those up, so if I miss something it doesn't leak out. Alright, this is 1-to-1 rapid 4-hour cure RTV, and it's just to make mold. It's just a mold material. It's from Micromark, not a sponsor. I've just been using this for a long time, and there's other stuff to use, but I'm just go ahead and mix this. The one downside to this material is, in my personal opinion, is once you buy it, if you don't use it fairly quickly, it will go bad. Now, one thing I want to explain why I'm mixing this is because you won't be able to hear me when I have my airbrush compressor on. I have a really old airbrush compressor. Well, I have a new one too, but I use my old one for this one just because it's all set up and just blows air constantly. It doesn't put it in a tank. But one thing is what I'm doing is I'm going to put a thin layer over all of the Sidewalk pieces, and then I'm going to use my air compressor to blow the air bubbles off of it. In other words, it just removes, instead of having a shaker, I'm just removing the air bubbles off of it. It's something my nephew Ian showed me how to do many years ago, and I've liked the methodology of it, so I'm going to use it for this as well. Just make sure this is thoroughly mixed. I would have poured the blue in the white, but the blue seemed to be more, I don't know, not as fluid. Now I'll follow along the edges just to make sure I get all the air bubbles, because it's still creating a film over top of it, so when it does settle there won't be any air bubbles in there. Now I'm going to pour the rest of the mold material in, and I'm not going to scoop it out because I don't want to get the walls that's not mixed. Okay, time for the big reveal. Going to cut them open now. Just barely cut through the seams. Well, seams, I should say. Just the tape. Just pop the mold out, and I'm going to mix some Merlin's Magic. I don't want to mix a lot, just enough to cover this mold. I just spray with a little bit of water and some Jet Dry, the stuff you put in your dishwasher. When you pour Merlin's Magic, just make sure you mix it because it does settle at the bottom. All right, I did a test run over here to see how solidified it is. And now I just kind of want to just remove the water, but I want to try to push as much of the cement into the molds as possible. And the sediment will sink to the bottom. Like I said, this is a little bit runny, but that's okay. All right, it's all dry. Been here a couple days, and I'm gonna pop them out now. They should come out fairly easy, but I just don't want to make sure they don't break. But I'm fairly confident this Merlin Magic is pretty solid, even for this, even for how thin these are. What I want to do now is there's this lip of Merlin's Magic around the edge. I want to sand it just to get it flat. This is 220 grit sandpaper. On the front, I want to try to have it on an angle to where I don't remove the lines that I have right here. If all else fails, I can just either carve them in or paint them in, so it's not extremely crucial. All right, I'm gonna paint with cabinet gray. It's just a, I don't know, color that I want my sidewalks to be. And it's almost the same color as this. So that's nice. Make sure your brush strokes go all in the same direction. This is Known Oil. I'm just gonna do a wash over all of it. I may want a bigger brush. Yeah, I want a bigger brush. You'll notice the brush strokes on this, on the cement. That's okay, at least around here. When you do cement, you don't leave it smooth on top. You'll use like a broom or something like that to brush the top to where it's not smooth, because if you have smooth cement, at least in our area, it becomes slippery as all get out. So you brush the top with something. So I don't care if there's brush strokes, and it was actually kind of intentional, just for that very reason. You'll also notice I'm pulling it a little bit, which you'll find out here in a second why I'm doing that. Okay, what I'm gonna start doing with it now is as it starts to dry, I'm gonna pull some of the liquid out so it has those rings. So it starts to look like it was stained in some areas. I mean, after it's all said and done, you might not be able to see a lot of the staining, but just one more thing that I wanna do, just to kind of give that appearance that it's been around a while and maybe had some crap spilled on it. All right, this is khaki. What I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna stipple. Essentially remove the paint like I would for dry brushing, but I'm just gonna stipple here and there. I'm gonna come back with the original gray, cabinet gray, and do the same thing. And this is just an old brush, old cheap brush. What I'm trying to do is just kind of mute the stains of the Known Oil without removing them. And if I don't like a particular area, I'll just hit it more. What I'm going to do now is just dry brush the edges, and I want to use the side of my brush as much as possible, especially when I'm doing the cracks right here or the seams. I want to try to use the side of my brush. I'm also going to do the front, the rounded edge. And then possibly where the ones butt up against these sides right here. All right, now I'm just going to do a little sepia here and there, not very much. And I'm going to try to have an odd number of spills on a piece. And then as it starts to dry, I'm going to wick away the center, make it look more like a stain, Like this one's starting to dry along the edges. Just kind of see, get the angle of light so I can see what's still damp and what's not. So since this one was I want to have very light anyway, I'm just going to wick the centers out of these now. You notice I'll push the sepia or the stain towards the edges too to help exaggerate it. I'm going to do the same with Nolan oil too. Just on the flat edges, I'm going to paint black. Where they technically should be butting up against something. Or at least mostly black. Well, that is a wrap. Finished. Finito. Hope you enjoyed the video, tutorial. Hope you got something out of it. You know, it's just how you do a little stain. Anyway, the red stain I forgot to mention was just a dark red color, like a scab color. And as I put it down before it dried, I would dab it off. Just so it kind of left a film more or less, and maybe a little bit of the bathtub ring around the edge. That's pretty much what that was. And if you have any questions, comments, please leave them below. I'll be more than happy to answer what I can. And if you want to see more of this, like I said before, Instagram, you can check it out there. We also have a Facebook page, which is Platypus Scotsman. We also have a Facebook group, which is Platypus Scotsman Lounge, if you want to join us there. If not, that's fine too. This is pretty straightforward. I accomplished what I wanted, and I got it modular, so every time I cast, I have the bits, corner pieces, and things like that that I want in one cast. And if I want, I can actually make more molds, but I don't see the need for that. Hope all is well with your hobby and everything's treating you nice and you're having a blast gaming in whatever you do. And I hope you got something out of this. And that's pretty much it. I can't think of anything else. Nothing comes to mind. Oh. Yeah, one of the most important things, and I can't believe I almost forgot. I'd like to thank our patrons that support us and help us to further our goals, and I very much appreciate it. You have no idea. I also appreciate the conversations we have and the feedback that I get as I'm building things. I very much appreciate it. Goes a long ways and helps keep the motor running sometimes, to be honest with you. Now I'm pretty much done, so hope everything is well. And remember what my mother used to always say, that anyone can do art. Ciao.